Welcome to the Mood Ring Part 1 Exploring Color. In this video, we will be covering Activity 1, which is an activity that explores the mixing of primary emitted colors. The first thing I'd like to do is to show you how to jump pages within the TNS file. To do this, press the Control and trackpad click up. And this takes me to a page sorter view, and I can use my trackpad click keys to navigate to the appropriate page. I want the page that has Activity 1 listed. That's right in the center of my screen, so I'll highlight it and then click Enter. When I do this, I jump to page 1.5 and Activity 1. Your page numbering may be a little off if you inadvertently added an additional Python shell in your programming from previous videos. The next thing I'd like to do is to switch the view of my software so that you can have a better view in the video. This view now gives you a larger view of the screen itself. So I'll give you a moment to get yourself to the right page, Activity 1, and then we'll get started with the activity. Activity 1. On the next page, we're going to interact with the simulation. This simulation will help us to explore the additive mixing of the three primary emitted colors, red, green, and blue. These colors mix together in a special way to make secondary colors. These secondary colors are yellow, cyan, and magenta. So you can think of the primary colors as being the first, most important colors, while the secondary colors are the second colors that are made from the primary colors. After we discover how those secondary colors are made, we'll answer a few questions to check for understanding. Now, let's switch our calculators to the next page and I'll show you how to use the simulation. To do this, remember, press the Control key and the click pad to the right. Do that now and we'll get started. Notice on this page there is the black background with three squares, each filled with one of the primary colors, red, green, and blue. Each square has a central point that's labeled with an abbreviation for the color. You'll need to practice the action to be able to grab the square and drag it around. I'm going to help you through that right now. To do this, move your cursor on the click pad and hover over the point or very close to it. And notice cursor changes to an open hand. Now press the Control key and the center click on the pad, and that will grab the box by the point, and you can now move on the trackpad to move this around to the position where you want it. Now to release, simply press the center click on the pad to release. Now the hand is free to move, and when it's away from the square, the cursor goes back to an arrow, and you can then move to a different square, hover, press Control Center Click to grab, drag it around, and position it, and press the center click to release. I'm going to give you a few moments to practice that action before we begin our discovery of mixing primary colors. Now that you've had time to practice grabbing and dragging the blocks around, I want you to explore a little. But to do this, let's imagine for a moment that these 3 blocks are actually the beams from flashlights. Now, these are kind of special flashlights. First off, they have a square beam. That's kind of odd, but also they're colored. So imagine being in a pitch black room with 3 flashlights, one labeled red, another green, and a third blue. And imagine what it would be like to point 2 of the flashlights on a wall at the same time. How would those 2 beams of light interact with your eye? Well, you can simulate that with this simulation. If you click and drag the red primary color over the blue primary color, you'll see that at the intersection of the 2 boxes, or in our imaginary world, the intersection of the 2 flashlight beams, that there's a new color that's produced called magenta. Magenta is one of the 3 secondary colors produced through additive mixing of primary colors. This is called additive mixing because you're adding red light and blue light. And additive mixing works with, well, flashlight beams. It also is the way that your television set or your phone or your computer monitor work. Those are also little flashlight beams pointing into your eyes of 3 different colors that are mixing. So it's very much like what we're doing here. So I'm going to leave you now to explore mixing all of the combinations of these 3 colors. Don't forget to try to mix all 3 together. What happens when red, green, and blue overlap? Now that you've explored the mixing of the 3 primary colors, let's go to the next page and take a little quiz to check your understanding. To go to the next page, press the Control key and click Pad to the right. Answer the question, and when you're finished, we'll conclude Activity 1, and we'll be ready to go on to Challenge 2.